Welcome. We are Generation Lag. I'm Scott. I'm joined by my buddies Chase and Rob. Today, we're going to be talking about Helldivers, Defenders of Super Earth. We're diving, pun, right? Yeah, into a game that somehow managed to take friendly fire to the most entertaining feature we've probably seen since GoldenEye. Helldivers 2 is just 1 year into its life, and we have been here spreading democracy across the galaxy since its inception. So, guys, we're going to start here. We're going to talk about extraction shooters because this is essentially what Helldivers is. But we've known extraction shooters and how they've been when they first started, and they were pretty straightforward. But then Arrowhead drops this beautiful bastard child of Starship Troopers, and essentially sort of Dark Souls. I don't know, probably not. It drops it into our laps, and suddenly we're all screaming for Super Earth, unironically. I know that this is the first time in a long time that I have been so into a game, especially for a year. And it has been an experience in the fact that I haven't felt this kind of excitement with couch co-op and bonding with buddies like this. And I mean, honestly, I can't remember. It's been a long time. What are you guys feeling on that?
It's been this is actually my first extraction shooter. I mean, before this, I wasn't even a huge action game guy. I was more like survival, puzzle, maybe a little sports games here and there,
RPG.
Turn-based. So this is the first like crazy action game that I've been into in a long time, and then now I'm looking at other types of extraction action games that are coming out that are kind of following suit a little bit, and I'm like, oh, these might be a good game too.
Yeah, and on my side, I liked extraction shooters. I just didn't realize how much I would love Helldivers and how different the formula is what makes it so special. And I think it was realistically, even though now, which it blows my mind that it's only been a year. It feels like I feel like we've gotten into this almost like gaming relationship with Helldivers because just the way they've approached this in the last year, and I know we're going to go into some of the aspects of that, but I still genuinely cannot believe it's only been a year. It just tells the story. It's not your standard extraction where it's just like go in, do the job. I mean, it does have all the aspects of go in, do the job, get out, upgrade your stuff. That gameplay loop, but it is beyond that, and it really has.
Sorry, Jace.
No.
Sure.
I was just gonna say it really has tapped into something that I haven't felt since probably my WoW days. Honestly, like disconnected to a game. The early 2000s WoW is the last time I felt this way about a game.
And that's why I brought up just the bonding aspect that it's brought. Like this amount of fun with your friends is just, to me right now, it's unrivaled. Like there is no better rush of adrenaline that I get when I'm playing a different game. There's just something special about Helldivers. And I think there's a few things that we can really cover when it comes to that. Not only the gameplay, which we can't get into, but being that it is an extraction shooter and it is a live service game, I think that they have almost reinvigorated live service, especially that's not like a shooter, because that's or a what do you call that? Battle royale type. That's kind of live service with battle passes. They've taken a game that is not one of those genres and actually turned it upside down, in my opinion, in a good way. And the two things that stand out to me first are the community that it's brought, and then the way that they have implemented live service and it feeling fair and it feeling constantly new and pretty consistent. And I want to first talk about the community because the community has been the best part of this game. In addition to the gameplay, is the way that it has brought us and the collective Helldivers all together. So And really what that comes down to is their narrative that they're telling. It feels like a constant moving narrative where we're always working towards a common goal in Super Earth. And it's special when the community manager, Joel, Joel as we call him, has become sort of like a minor celebrity, right? He's the game director that's basically running a Galactic D&D campaign.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how this community basically went from zero to getting into the chaos of Chase dropping Tesla towers.
Hey, well,
I know, Chase. I know that the D&D has been something dear to your heart. So yeah, let's talk about that first.
Yeah, so I mean, for those that don't know, I was into D&D way back in the early 90s and played in high school and all of that, and and I know I'm aging myself there, but there's just something really, I want to say, cool about like driving this like narrative campaign. And I know everybody that's played the game now knows that there is this narrative, but they literally could have taken the success that they had and said, hey, you know what? We're just going to take our money and run. No, they have Joel. Joel was like the coolest thing since sliced bread. And he was the guy that was driving this whole narrative based system, if you will. And, while there have been times, I think there was a funny chart, and I'll put it on the screen. There was a funny chart that shows the cycles of hype of throughout the last year, where it's like everybody gets super excited about the next thing that they're gonna make and new updates and new weapons, and then they realize, oh, it's a bummer. But they made some changes throughout this last year that I haven't seen, and I think one, obviously the story driven, the community, but the community obviously has been on a roller coaster, and I think we've all kind of lived through that roller coaster, both in game and also kind of offline on Reddits, and you see all it happen live. You see all this. People are really passionate about this game. They love this game, so that community just wants it to survive. They want it to thrive, and I think that's something I haven't seen in a long time, where people just, if they don't like a game or if they don't like the updates that are made, people just tend to leave. And over the last year, I haven't seen that, because they've been able to establish themselves and reestablish themselves as a profit generator. Like they've showed Sony that they can generate profit, but because of the way they're approaching the community, because they've had some slip ups, obviously, but they've always been able to about face and face the right direction, which I think, if you're a game studio out there and you're seeing this and going like, no, we don't want to do that, you're in the wrong business, honestly. And it's surprising to me how many slip ups other companies are doing, but then they have this shining light. Even Sony, who's failed multiple times, was trying to kick off another live service. All they have to do is look at what Helldivers has done, and I don't know if it's a cultural thing, because I think they're based out of Sweden. I want to say it's one of the.
I think so.
I think and it's just at Narrowhead Studios, but they just care, and I think the community understands that, and they reflect that. Yes, there's some toxic people.
Exactly.
And I think that's been the biggest thing. It's not just the story. Joel is cool, but I think it's more about how they've nurtured this community, and through it all, through the roller coaster ride of the last year, they've just managed to maintain and gain from that. I mean, I think it's doing numbers. It's doing, I think we're back to like 100,000 daily. Not that I'm looking at those numbers, but it doesn't feel like there's less of a community. So,
which is shocking for after a year.
It really is.
In this era where everybody's like, give me as much as you can, and then I'll move to the next.
Yeah.
For the majority of games. I mean, you got things like Warzone that keep their demographic for a while. But that brings me to my next point at the start. And Rob, as somebody who is constantly ahead of the curve when it comes to having an absurd amount of super credits, requisition slips, medals, what have you, I'm talking about the live service element as far as their content drip. How do you really feel about their cadence of dropping content and the quality of it as a live service, which we can call their battle pass, right? Their war bonds, as they call them.
I mean, the ones that they've dropped they've all had something in there that I could kind of sink my teeth into, like the last one for someone like you is you probably like the double sickle.
I
For
do.
me, I like the ultimatum. Even though I don't use it on every mission, it has its uses.
I'm totally with you. It's in a way that is consistent. These, like I said earlier, the live service element feels like there's a lot of nickel and diming. It feels like most of it is usually skins. But with each war bond, like you said, Rob, there is always something there that is highly usable and fun and adds to the gameplay and just sort of invigorates it each time. And to be honest, the war bonds, the slash battle passes are pretty cheap when you compare it to other things. I think the quality versus what's in them is the perfect ratio. I think your money gets you what you deserve. And the best part, you can earn those super credits in game. So, I mean, it's working for everybody. If you don't play that much, you can drop $5-10 and catch up, which isn't a lot. And if you play a lot, you're rewarded for your time. So great job there.
But, like,
So
nothing in like the like each sequential war bond. There's nothing in there that you absolutely need to have in order to be successful.
Yep.
right. It
True.
just, how do you want to play your loadout? How do you want to have fun and destroy the bugs and blow them up is really it. And the squids.
And the bots.
Which we'll see more of. And that brings me to the next point as far as the new threats, the new enemies that come. Because in these types of games, there is running the risk of stagnation. And I don't think Helldivers has reached that point yet. They're always doing something that can really bring the player back in, whether it's the overarching narrative or adding new weapons or new enemies. It's always getting more of a variety. It's getting more fun. So along with these war bonds, along with the weapons and the armor, we get new enemies. And the newest enemies in this current patch are new bugs. The predator bugs, the predator strains, taking stalkers and the hunters, their little child.
The super
predators.
stalkers.
I heard somebody call them that. If the hunters are baby stalkers and now they're the predator strain, are they the child predator? But anyways, players have been excited and they've been sort of mad, but we're at Super Helldive now. We personally play on Super Helldive, which is the hardest difficulty. And these new bugs have, I think at least for me, they've been the newest enemy that really makes you think of your own loadout. Like, you can't just be so willy-nilly. You almost have to have certain loadouts, and our loadouts have to complement each other. What do you guys think about the new enemies?
I see people online when people in Reddit complain, "Oh, now these new strains are too hard, too difficult now," and then like people are like, "Well, you could always lower the difficulty."
Never.
I know. I don't get people sometimes, but for me, the enemies are awesome. I mean, what do you guys think about these predator strains? Are they going in the right direction, or are they too hard?
I love them. Rob, you were gonna
Played it yet, Chase?
I have. I got one round in, and I got attacked by a super stalker or whatever they're called from both sides. They showed me on one, and then all of a sudden one skitters away and gets behind me, and it was like the perfect. It was a Hollywood moment. It was that Alien versus Predator, it's like the humans were just there and then we were collateral. And so I feel like there's some elements to this where there's, all three races are kind of overlapping now. These enemy races are kind of overlapping. So, I mean, who knows where these infused, the Predator infused variants, like what's the story? How did it happen? Is it suddenly they're, being, I don't know. It's just crazy because like that experience alone, I mean, I already hated the stalkers. I already hated them. We were always searching for the nest. We got to get rid of it because they're.
Anybody actually like them?
No, I no. But it's just it's worse. But it's also it adds to the drama, and I think that's what's really important because it does. It reminds me of like Alien. It reminds me of that fear that we as Helldivers shouldn't have. But now it's like, okay, we better slow down. We got to take our time because. We gotta watch your backs.
It can turn from okay to bad very quickly.
Yes.
And I mean, I know each mission we've played, Robin, I know you've played more than I have recently, but I think we've probably got about 4 or 5 under our belt. And we've almost used every reinforcement in every match. Like even the last one, you were out for a little bit because we ran out. So it is rough, but I like it.
Yeah.
It makes it feel. I mean, I like getting my adrenaline going during these games. So I think they're headed in the right direction. Keep the new enemies coming, and I really can't wait to see what happens with more Illuminate here.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of this ongoing narrative, so the big thing lately has been when Meridia was infested, we had to create a giant bomb where we were like getting some of that purple juice, whatever it was. Yeah, the dark matter.
Yeah.
And so we made a black hole by blowing up the planet, and that massive explosion has led to some problems. Mm-hmm. Turns out that creating a black hole is slightly more complicated than, assembling like IKEA furniture or something. Who knew, right? So this black hole is now moving towards Super Earth, and we can't have that. It's destroyed Angel's venture, and it seems like, the narrative is starting to ramp up. We've seen the Predator strain, we're gonna see some new Illuminate. So as far as enemies goes, we got some shit on the horizon, right?
Hey,
yeah, horizons. But I want to get to the future of the game because this is obviously where it's moving to and what we want to see. But I want to first shout out their success. They've gotten several awards.
Yeah,
Game of the Year. What else, Rob? You sent it to me.
It was one of them was multiplayer. It wins multiplayer game of the year in pretty much multiple different.
Yeah,
it was like a Steam Better with Friends award, I think.
Music.
Yeah, music.
Original.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the music is fantastic.
So
Who doesn't love raising the flags, right?
So good.
The sound design itself, like hearing the enemies in the distance.
Yeah.
Except for our tanky bugs. The tanky bugs, you still can't hear them coming. So hey.
I know, a rhino that makes no noise.
Literally, the silent rhinos. Like,
how many times have we gotten trampled without ever hearing anything?
Every time.
But the point being that this game has definitely earned those accolades.
100%.
I don't think. I mean, there's a lot of good games that have come out this past year, but they have, I think, being a live service, have gone above and beyond what they should do, and I think these awards speak to that. And Arrowhead is incredibly deserving of it, and so kudos to them. I'm glad because it leads to the future, and I think that before we really extract from this topic. Let's get final thoughts on this beautiful disaster of a game and where it might be heading in a year or two. What do you guys really want to see going forward? I know what I do, but I want to hear what you guys have to say.
I'm just interested to see the story unfold. I just like how there's kind of in each individual game there's like a micro story going on with like the weather effects and random patrols and just things that are unexpected that just will happen, and then there's the whole Galactic War story that's playing out over time. So you have the kind of the macro and the micro going on.
So you're more of you're really into the story and you feel invested into it and where it wants to go.
Oh, for sure. And every time something new happens and we see the the big announcement on Reddit, we're all like, oh man, look what's happening now.
Yeah.
It's almost
what about you, Chase?
It's our little fake news world that's going on.
That's so true. No, it's like
an echo chamber.
First thing you walk into is you're looking at the board and what's on the news, and then you get the announcement when you go to the Globe, and it's like, yeah. And I'm with Rob on that. I think the storyline has been phenomenal. I think, yes, of course, we've had our ups and downs. It's been a roller coaster for the last year. But I think in terms of the story, it's been amazing. I think for me, the biggest future want, or future something, I would say an expanded expand the amount of players that can be on screen at once, you know, whether it's 6 players or what have you. Because I mean, 4-player co-op's great. I mean, we've got, you know, the perfect group that we run, you know, but if there's that opportunity to maybe have multiple groups of 4, you know, running on the map at the same time, or you know, something, I think it would lend to this more epicness feeling of it. I know right now it's a tight-knit squad of 4, and it's like, okay, we're overwhelmed. But I think there's an element of, and this is going to another game, you know, with Starship Troopers, which, you know, hasn't been doing great because of Helldivers having been launched at the same time. I mean, it's 16 players. And I think from what I've heard, the rumors of it, they obviously are switching over the current game engine. I think that new engine upgrade is going to bring the opportunity for them to expand, 1, the universe, and then 2, the ability to have multiple players, more than 4 on screen at the same time. And I mean, I would love to see some like in-faction fighting. I think there's rumors of like a dead Helldiver race, if you will, or like a separate section of like where there's...
I saw that.
Yeah.
That was...
The zombie.
I think that was just like a
shadow
idea.
That was like fan fiction. Okay.
Yeah.
Because how cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Because I always
Hammer.
Right. And I always think that exactly. Or like Helldivers who, you know, went AWOL and, you know, went off onto another planet. Something like that, where it's like they can Chaos Divers. Exactly. They 100% to see some like that level of advancement of both the story and the characters, and like, because, you know, right now, yeah, it's great. It's just I see it expanding, and it's just one of the, I know when we talked about before last year when it first started, we had all these ideas and we got really excited, but I think it still genuinely has that ability, you know, even a year now from launch. And especially since they're switching engines, I think that's going to be huge for them. Obviously, there's going to be complications, but yeah, just keeping my eye on that and see where they go with that. So, yeah, that's my biggest thing, is being able to get my friends to come, you know, additional friends to be like, hey guys, we got the 4 mains and we need 2 more, you know, or whatever, you know, whatever that is.
That's all we need is more 380s.
Just more everything, more epic, you know, more chaos. Just bring it on. Yeah, exactly.
I know when we talked about this when it first came, I really said that, like, it's limitless what they can do when it comes to this game. So for me, what I'd like to see is a little more variety in the missions. The game is so fun itself that you almost forget how monotonous it is. Like, no matter the mission, it's still generally the same thing. You go to point A, you do that, you go to extract.
Yep.
I would like to see more variety in mission structure. I would love to see indoor stuff going down into like a bug hive underground, maybe up into an illuminate ship, like infiltration, maybe more indoor buildings. Like we have seen some urban areas going into buildings would be cool. I think that would add a whole new dynamic. I'm a very old school RPG player that likes his archetypes, likes his classes. So I would like to maybe see the addition of some classes, but I might be in the minority there. I think it would just add a little more nuance. Couple quality of life changes. I've told Rob, I've told you several times, it'd be cool to be able to pick your armor perks regardless of what armor you were wearing. Yeah. Even though they have spoken to that before and said we're not doing that right now. Like to see customization in guns, in armor, colors even. I would like to see, like, I feel like a special weapon, your 3rd slot weapon should just be default. Like it shouldn't take a stratagem. Maybe the jetpack being a little more useful, having like 3 charges instead of 1. Just like I said, it's really limitless here what they can do. So to add more complexity and character customization would really be what's on my wish list for things to come. But the way that they're dropping content, the way that they're dropping weapons, I think their trajectory is good, but there's always room to grow. And I think to stay relevant now, they've set a high bar that I think other games, which is great. I like healthy competition, but I would like to see this game to continue growing and getting more players and having a lot more uniqueness than it already does. But overall, the game rocks. And if you haven't played it yet, you need to play it. You really have to. But that's it for me. Do you guys have any closing thoughts?
I was going to add, saving your different, in response to, you know, setting up like engineer or, you know, different classes, I think you could have the option to save your loadouts. I feel like that's like the first quality of life, to be like, hey, this is my engineer loadout. This is my, you know, that way it's instantaneous. But I also think there is a purpose behind that little bit of chaos, because you're kind of forced to pick really quickly, and like, you know, and it's just, but so there's two sides to that coin. But I think a simple addition of maybe a 1 to 4 slot loadout, you know, to be like, oh yeah, I want to do this loadout, boom, you're done, you know, would be great. Like a nicety. So yeah, but otherwise I agree with you, Scotty. I think it's been a phenomenal year, man. I'm more excited than ever before, and I've never been excited about this game, about a game in general. I've never stuck with a game in a long time, you know, a multiplayer game in particular. So yeah.
That's it. Play Helldivers.
Yes.
For any of you still sticking around to the end, thank you. Thank you for hanging out for the first video, and we hope to put out a lot more that is surrounding things like this: news, opinions, new games, and just sharing our passion with you, and from the older perspective, the older, wiser perspective of us millennials becoming the older people these days. But anyways, we are Gen Lag. Thanks for joining us. Until next time.